Hi, this is Megan Blackstone presenting to you my informative presentation. We're going to go ahead and start with our guest. I just have two guests today. One's my husband and my daughter. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Jeremy.
Guest number one.
That's my husband, and my daughter's in the background. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Today I'm doing an informative presentation on the incompetent cervix. I'm going to talk about the effects of an incompetent cervix on the human body. First, I want to get you acquainted with the anatomy of the cervix. First of all, cervix is only located in a female reproductive system. It's not something that a male has in his body. The function of the cervix primarily is to help support pregnancy to full term. It's basically the connection between the uterus and the vaginal canal, and it also has other functions such as serving in menstrual flow and helping sperm reach the eggs during sexual reproduction. But primarily in this case that we're talking about today, the cervix primary function is to support the growing pregnancy. An incompetent cervix basically is like saying it's a failed cervix. It's not working or doing its job correctly. So when I stated that the job of the cervix is to support the pregnancy through term and basically kind of keep that pregnancy and uterus in its place away from the vaginal canal, what happens in a woman with an incompetent cervix, basically that cervix doesn't do its job, and it kind of allows the uterus to enter into the vaginal canal. As the incompetent cervix, the cervix basically will dilate as if a woman is dilating for labor, and it will allow that uterus and amniotic sac to kind of come down and enter that vaginal canal. And when it does so, a woman's body will then initiate labor thinking that it's time for labor, when technically the pregnancy isn't full term and it's definitely not time for labor. And usually with an incompetent cervix, this normally happens early in pregnancy, anywhere from 5 months to a span of 8 months. And I personally myself, as a testimony, have had complications with an incompetent cervix. And we have lost a son and a daughter in 2 separate pregnancies because of this. And the effects the incompetent cervix has on the body is basically not giving your uterus and your fetus the support it needs to grow and continue through term to have a full-term healthy pregnancy. Instead, it's failing, and it's initiating that uterus to pull down into the vaginal canal, and your body's saying, hey, it's time for labor, when it's not. Basically, incompetent cervix can lead to a few things, and the primary thing that it leads to is premature birth. And premature birth is just a simplistic statement. It really depends on when it leads to that premature birth. Whether you're in your 5th month or clear to your 8th month, it can mean a lot of different things. And it can mean as far as NICU stays. It can mean as far as having a micro preemie or having a premature infant that's going to be in the NICU that's fighting for their life, or it can mean infant loss. You can have a delivery so early into your 5th month that baby, just can't survive. First of all, can't survive the labor, let alone survive in the real world. its body functions aren't just up to par to be able to make it, and it can be very detrimental physically and mentally on a female with an incompetent cervix. But to kind of conclude everything, I want people to know that there is hope. Today, we do have a little girl who's 2 years old, actually just turned 2. And even though a woman has an incompetent cervix, there are solutions and there's help out there. It's all about getting the right care and finding the right educated physicians to kind of help you. And you can conquer an incompetent cervix. The main solution to conquering an incompetent cervix is basically vaginal cerclage, and it's a surgical procedure that you go through when your cervix gets to a shortened length that it's kind of weary and doctors are saying, okay, cycle's repeating again, let's get in there and stitch you up. Basically what they do is they just sew your cervix shut. And even with the sewed cervix, you can still attempt to go into labor. Your body is still going to try to do the same thing it did before because your cervix is failing. It's not doing its job. And personally, we got our miracle baby with the cerclage. The 3rd pregnancy, we got the cerclage. I lived up at OSU for a few months fighting my body from going into labor. But you can conquer it. You can conquer the effects that the incompetent cervix has on the body. And I just want to know that anybody that might experience or go through anything physiologically with their bodies, sometimes there are solutions, and you just gotta seek help and believe, and never give up, and know that you can come out on top of everything. And that concludes my presentation. Thanks.